Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. You're listening to The Blockchain Show. I'm your host, Ethan Kinderconnect. Today I'm joined by Jaro, the head of product at Mysterium.Network. How are you doing today, Jaro?
Very good. Thank you. Hello, everyone.
It's good to have you here. I typically ask our new time guests to talk a little bit about themselves, bring us up to speed on how you got involved with the blockchain space and how that ties into Mysterium.Network.
So I have heard first was introduced to Bitcoin in 2013, I think. Before that first strange rally. That was really interesting to learn about new shiny technology, but I was not understanding anything like economics behind that. But technology was very interesting. So I was looking around that while doing my normal job things. But in 2017, a friend of mine decided to establish blockchain consulting company. And I decided to step out of my engineering position at Uber. I was working as a software engineer in SRE team at Uber. And I decided to stop that work to join a blockchain consulting company during that crazy 2017, 2018 times. And during that consulting times, I have met Robertus, who's founder of Mysterium.Network. And it was really interesting what Mysterium is doing, that it's a distributed, decentralized VPN network and micropayments, which was my area of interest at that time, looked really like the right place to use, like when you're finding the exact match, when you understand that it's not possible without micropayments to run such decentralized network, VPN network. So I joined them first as a consultant for payments, and later we understood that we have and my vision for the whole infrastructure and how to develop network was interesting to the team. So from the beginning of this year, I have joined as a head of product.
That's really excellent. And super interesting that you were working with Uber around that time. I mean, that was a good year for them, I would imagine, and certainly one of the big success stories out of the Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that was really good time for Uber, and Uber was excellent team. But just like blockchain related things was all the time area of my hobby, like for 4 years in a row. And when I got a chance to put my hands on that more deeply, I decided to move forward.
Yeah, man. Well, good for you. That's a big step forward in the right direction. And VPNs are something that are very interesting to me. We haven't really talked about them a whole lot on this show. One of my former co-hosts, we used to talk a little bit about them, but I assume we're talking about virtual private networks.
Yes.
Just for people who don't really know what those are, I mean, there may be a few. You'd be surprised. We get a lot of new time listeners who are just learning about blockchain all the time. So maybe tell us, what is a VPN and how have you built at Mysterium.Network the first decentralized VPN, just to take it a step further?
Yeah, so first of all, VPN is not very related to blockchain at all. Yeah. So VPNs are here for many, many years, and it's a virtual private network. It was built as a security technology for corporations. So when employees are out of the office, they could still connect via from cafes, from their own home, from not protected networks, and would still have really high level of security protection. And 10 or 20 years ago, most of traffic was not encrypted at all. So people were browsing HTTP instead of HTTPS. So actually hosting providers or public access points like cafes or anything else. They could literally read everything what you send over internet. So that was really important for corporations. And later, when the great firewalls appeared and all this closing down internet, like from the beginning, internet was the network of freedom. Everyone was equal. Everyone was free. You could browse anything. But some countries decided to do censorship around it. So people started to use VPN technology, not just for corporate use, but for general users. So people could go through some server to the internet. It's somehow similar to maybe some people heard about proxy things. When you don't want to show your IP address, for example, you can use proxy. So while you are in United Kingdom, you could exit via Russia, and website would think that you're Russian. But VPNs it's a different technological solution. So it gives high encryption layer on top of that. So first VPNs, they were providing some access exit points. So you just buy account there. Some companies running it. Some of them are really huge companies at the moment. And then your internet provider or cafe or public access point is not able to see anything about your traffic. They just see that some gibberish things are going out from your computer to some another computer. And website, for example, Facebook, could think that you are from totally different location. So that's a lot of levels of privacy and security added by VPNs. The problem of VPNs, generic VPNs, is that they are still run by some companies. So those companies who are owning servers could have logs about users' activity. And some governments could go to ask for those logs, or those companies could decide to sell, your browsing history to some advertising companies. Like anything could happen because of that centralization. Another solution to solve similar problem was Tor network. Actually, it's a solution from different angle. And Tor network is also decentralized network where you could get privacy, security, and exit via some countries. The problem of Tor network is that it's quite slow, that it has not that many exit points, because exit points are run free of charge, and people are not incentivized to run a lot of them. And also Tor is easily recognizable. So while people are browsing via Tor, even if you would go via Tor browser to Google, search something, you would have to solve CAPTCHAs, because Google will see that you're from Tor and what's not. So some websites are even not accessible via Tor, or you will have to go via a lot of CAPTCHAs. But generally, that's a very good solution as well. So Mysterium is something between those two solutions, like Tor, which is distributed, the centralized network of exit nodes, which has no ability to have central logs, and using the VPN technology with all these encryption layers and giving faster access to the end website. And on top of that, the Mysterium network is introducing peer-to-peer payments. So network consumers could send small amount of cryptocurrency for exit nodes, for people who are running exit nodes. And, transactions could go each 20 seconds, each minute, and it could cost 0.0001 cent per minute. Yeah. So really nano transactions. And here blockchain is actually very needed, because there are no technical possibility to pay globally for people all around the world. So India, Brazil, United Kingdom, Russia, exit nodes are everywhere. it would be not possible to set up like PayPal or Stripe for them to pay. And also microtransactions are like extremely small amounts. Stripe would charge you for each transaction for at least 5 or 25 cents. So we really had to invent some special layer and use blockchain because we needed privacy, we needed anonymity, we needed not control access to the network, so nobody could stop you to enter or exit the network. So yeah, that's what is Mysterium, and that's what is VPN.
And earlier you mentioned how the internet used to be free and open to everyone, and since then there's been governments that kind of section off different parts of the internet. I'm curious, not to throw shade on China or anyone in that country, just as an example, would someone who is living a censored area, how would they utilize Mysterium's VPN? How would they be able to access the internet as it used to be?
Like we do have a lot of users from Middle East because obviously they have some censorship. Yes, we have some users from China, but also from India and different other areas. So it's quite easy, like people could just download our Android application on App Store or some desktop application from the website. You just launch the application, choose the country which you would like to exit from, and choose the exit node with which you would like to use. Say connect, and from that moment, all your traffic is going first to that exit node by doing encrypted tunnel. So government or firewalls, they're not able to see what you're sending there. It's not possible for them to censor that traffic. And if somebody from Middle East or China is exiting via United Kingdom or USA, so Google would look at that user as United States user and would not ban any search terms.
Very good. And other than fighting online censorship, I see that you guys have been also helping to offset surveillance and cybercrime since 2017. What has that been like since then in terms of, cyber attacks and surveillance? How are you guys helping to combat that as well?
I'm not sure really about this background because I have joined a little bit later. And I'm not aware if we were doing some cyber attacks prevention somewhere. I can say that in general, Mysterium.Network is protecting people from cyber attacks. It means that nobody can watch your traffic. Nobody can when someone is going to the public access point, for example, cafe. On that cafe, router could actually give you not the right website. So you're browsing to one website and it could show you totally different by trying to steal some of your information, passwords, anything else. While using VPN connections, that's totally not possible because they don't see what you're doing, where you're going. So from that point of view, Mysterium really helping and protecting people from cyber attacks.
A lot of activities are happening online now that used to happen face to face, such as kids going to school on Zoom or Google Classroom. Companies are working from home a lot more due to the COVID-19 global pandemic. So I would imagine that this is probably a good time to look out for someone's online security, and because I'm sure hackers and malicious actors are probably out there more than ever trying to get a hold of sensitive information. So
yeah, there are a lot of attack vectors, and there are many activities around that. And VPN is one of the solutions how to protect people. Browsers are doing a great job from another side. The problem of early internet is that it was totally not protected. There was no encryption in any layer, DNS layer, HTTP, anything. Like every information was going through not encrypted. Some kids in late 90s, early 2000s were able to really read emails of all their friends or from the same, like if you're in the same network, you were able to just watch over that content easily without any limitation. That was so easy if you had a little bit knowledge. So, like now our connections are much more secure. But I would say that we have, in terms of censorship and freedom, still a lot of issues. And that's also from both corporations and governments, especially in those areas where we have oppressive governments. Because more people are now meeting online. They are trying to talk online, sending messages, emails, everything. And because governments are able to get they are able to get their hands on top of internet service providers, they're able to read your emails. They are able to see destinations where you're browsing. And because people are now at home, it's easier than before to track what they are doing. Because you have to track only one IP address. Easy. And a lot of information. So from this sense, it's really important to use encrypted connections all the time, especially if you're in opposition in some oppressive country and you would like to talk about political context. You're browsing political websites. It's better not to do that without Tor or VPN protection.
Not to be negative here, but it could go the other way as well. There could be people looking up, how to make bombs. They could use these tools as well to kind of hide from the authorities. And, it's always like a game of catching up with law enforcement and terrorists or, just criminals in general. So, there is some sort of like ethical challenges that I imagine you guys have. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, a lot of ethical challenges. But, that's a very philosophical question. What is more important? Freedom or security? In terms of like feeling secure when somebody like government protecting you. Like in cryptocurrencies world, many people are talking about privacy in Bitcoin, like that Bitcoin should be more private. That's why people are using privacy coins, all these zero knowledge proofs, all these things. So we would have a little bit more privacy, because privacy also gives us security. And sure, people can look all over internet how to make a bomb and how to do something. But if we will give out our privacy, and we will be not able to talk about political issues because we don't like what government does, and government is trying to kill you if you're saying something wrong. In many countries around the world, they can put you to jail. They can do something with you. It's really hard then when you have no freedom of speech. So it's a really question who we should protect more, like democracy, freedom, or have a little bit more security in terms that, it's harder to find how to make a bomb. People will still find how to do that.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely. One of my favorite Benjamin Franklin quotes, it goes something like, those who would give up their freedoms for security deserve neither.
Yes.
I definitely understand what you're saying there. privacy is very important. One of these browsers, I think it was Firefox or something like that, they had this a website where you could type in your email address and see how many times you had been involved in a hack of information. And it wasn't too bad for me. I was already aware of them. I imagine that there's plenty of my information that's been stolen that will never be reported because they were not found out and forced to disclose the information by like a regulating government. I guess my question for you is, what are some steps that people can take to ensure their privacy online? What are some good practices that you would recommend in addition to using, what you guys are developing at Mysterium?
Yeah. So in addition to secure connection, such as Mysterium or Tor or general VPN at least, but it's better Mysterium or Tor because it gives you no blocks policy. It's really important to have what I really use. I use either blocking any kind of cookies on my browser, either at least using Brave browser or setting most privacy features on Firefox, because really websites are tracking a lot about our habits on internet, and actually they are able to paint your picture because while you're going to different websites, they are able to know your browser version, your operating system version, your screen size, resolution. So when you're going to a new website, you can go even like from different locations. So you have not the same IP address, but because you have this footprint of your device, they are able to see that's maybe they don't know exactly who you are, like your name, but they know that that's the same user. And that's why they are able to push you different kind of advertising, manipulating through information and all these things. So it's really important to have really try to delete all the cookies all the time. They should be banned by default. Otherwise, they are really able to make a footprint on your device. Also, some people say that use less different plugins on your browser, because each plugin also could give footprint for those who try to learn about you. So less plugins, better. Use different browsers during different sessions helps you. Like many tricks like that. And yes, for sure, never ever use HTTP connections, only HTTPS. It's better to set your own DNS provider like OpenDNS or Google's DNS. So you would not use the DNS of that internet service provider you're using.
Some really good advice there. There's, like you said, there's just so many sites tracking us, everything we do from our web browser footprint. I even heard that there was some, I'm not sure if this is true, but like the fingerprint of your, like the speed that you type can help recognize different users on a web browser.
But that's a really very advanced level.
Yeah.
That's most probably very rare.
Yeah. That's probably a little bit of paranoia on my end. But yeah, man, this all sorts of things. We're going to see huge invasions of privacy with, Internet of Things, like, these smart speakers that people have in their homes, always listening. I love technology, but I also really value my privacy. And sometimes we make trade-offs that, we don't really necessarily have informed consent all the time unless, we're educated. So I appreciate you taking the time to explain some of these things to our audience. We have a little bit of time left. I wanted to just...
Could I make one side note also?
Yes, please.
Because there are three things. It's a privacy, censorship, and discrimination. And actually, we should think about all of them. We already touched privacy. We touched censorship. So someone is trying to censor you. But like in the world, there is a digital discrimination as well. For example, some services are banning Indians or people from Nigeria to using their software as a service solution, just because those Nigerians or Russians usually not pay subscriptions, so they don't want to give them free subscriptions they are giving for anyone else. Or if you would like to watch Netflix while you're traveling, you would see that actually in Europe you would see much less content than in United States. And this kind of discrimination is also happening all over the internet. It's strange that it's happening, but that's also a topic which we as a Mysterium network trying to solve, to give people possibility go rid out of this discrimination of your nationality or your IP address.
Absolutely. It's something that don't really think about living, in California. This is about as liberal as it gets. It's, this is as far west as you can go. But sometimes, we forget here that there's people all over the world still struggling just for, basic rights and digital discrimination. That's a new term. I haven't heard that before.
Yeah, maybe I should write about it, because maybe I invent.
You should, man. I like that. Cool. Yeah, I wanted to ask, where does your accent come from?
I'm from Lithuania, so that's a Lithuanian accent.
Oh, right on.
It's Eastern Europe.
Yeah, I hear it's very beautiful there. Yeah, I gotta do some traveling when all of this coronavirus stuff calms down eventually. I appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast today. And, just for anybody who's listening, how are they going to get involved with Mysterium.Network?
First of all, you can just go to Mysterium.Network website, read over it. There are three kind of activities you can do to be part of our community. Simplest one is just download the app and use VPN. It's free while we are in testnet. It will cost a little bit in cryptocurrency after going mainnet this summer. You can also run your own exit node. So you can do that over your computer or over Raspberry Pi. Or if you're a software engineer, you can try to give us some, you can build something on top of Mysterium. Mysterium is open source technology. So people are really free to build their own solutions or to use Mysterium network inside their own products already to give more security and privacy for those products.
Yeah, that's very good. And just to touch on the cryptocurrency, do you guys have your own token, or would they be using other available cryptocurrencies to pay?
From the beginning, we will use our own token. This is a MIST token for all the transactions. But if we are trying to make it very easy to really convert from cryptocurrency you have to MIST on the fly. So that should not stop a lot of people. Also, there are some people who already built solutions on top of Mysterium network. And there is one project which is accepting even fiat payments. And they are making sure to pay node runners in cryptocurrency. So they're doing that in their infrastructure layer. But for end user, he's just buying subscription, and that's all.
Oh, okay.
So we really try to have both good things. Give possibility to earn cryptocurrency for node runners in the most easy and good way. But still, end users should be able not to bother that much if they don't know how to use cryptocurrencies yet. In the future, we had a lot of ideas to have multi-token support. Even like Bitcoin's Lightning Network is really under deep considerations, but we need to wait until more people are using it, and there are a lot of technical challenges before us still.
Yeah, I would imagine it's a big undertaking, and hopefully, our listeners will go and try this out, especially since it's free right now. So this is a great time to get involved. I just had one more question. Say that somebody did have some spare computers lying around and they wanted to run some nodes. Would they be able to generate their own tokens and kind of get use of the service for free? And if so, what are the kind of the technology specs required of a computer to run a node?
From hardware perspective, that's really almost any computer can run it. As I mentioned, Raspberry Pis, microcomputers are able to run it. We do support at the moment Linux type of operating systems and Mac OS. Windows users are able only consume traffic, so you would need to have most probably on that spare computer Linux installed. But we have a lot of instructions how to do that. And the most easy way, it's really running it on Raspberry Pi.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think that's it's a great idea, man. I really appreciate your knowledge in the space and taking the time to explain some of these things to me. I think there's just a lot of good stuff in this podcast. So I know that we're past our time here, but I wanted to give you a chance to say anything in closing to our audience, and maybe just bring this conversation to a close.
Actually, I just would like to thank you for opportunity to share our knowledge, because I do believe that more people will learn about privacy, about freedom, about problems. More they will be aware, more secure and free internet we will have. And that's kind of my internal passion as well. So thank you.
Yes, you're very welcome. And, thanks again for coming on the podcast. For anybody who's interested, I encourage you to go to Mysterium.Network and let's revolutionize how the internet's going to work in the future. So,
and one more thing for people who was thinking that cryptocurrencies are not useful and good only for traders or store of value. The micro payments is the only one way you can use. It's use blockchain technologies and cryptocurrencies. So any network which is distributed as our in the future most probably will take a look use of blockchain. For me, that's a killer application for blockchains. It's a store of value and microtransactions. So really I think that you should talk on your podcast about microtransactions as well. More touch it, because that's something where you're not able to do that without blockchain. We really wanted to do that, and that's not possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's something that I firmly support. We've, going back to like 2016, we were talking about how important that change is going to be to, just the internet, people's subscriptions, even like advertising. And we even talked about offering people to do micro transactions to, help support this podcast. And we had a little bit of success with that. Anytime I see a company utilizing micro payments or transactions, I definitely get very interested. So I'm glad you said that. And so, yeah, Jaro, thanks again for coming on the podcast, man. It was a real pleasure talking to you today.
Pleasure on my side. Have a good day.
All right. Thank you. You too. Goodbye.
Bye.